What's up, YouTube? It's Nicole here. If you don't know who I am a nutritionist and a personal trainer. So today I'm going to talk to you about 5 mistakes that I wish I could have avoided when I was first trying to lose weight. That way, this can help you avoid it in your journey. The first one that I want to talk about is eating as little as possible. While that makes the most sense to eat as little as possible and you will lose weight, the problem with this strategy is that if you use all of your tools all at once, meaning you hit the lowest amount of calories that you could possibly go in a calorie deficit right off the bat, then there's nowhere else for you to go. And that's why it's important not to just eat as little as possible in the very beginning, because that will result in a plateau very quickly. What you want to be doing with losing weight and having a strategy behind it is really just making sure that you can have gradual fat loss. And so they say between 1/2 pound and 2 pounds a week is safe. I prefer going a little bit slower towards the 1/2 pound to 1 pound a week in weight loss. And that's because it will take longer, but that also means that you can use your tools for much longer. So let's talk about one of the main strategies that people use to lose weight, which is a calorie deficit. So for example, if you were eating 2,300 calories a day and you decided to go on a diet and you were like, you know what? I could get by eating 1,200 calories a day. So that puts you in an 1,100 calorie deficit. You will for sure lose a bunch of weight really quickly. But then what happens is your metabolism will actually adapt to eating lower calories. So that 1,100 calories that you're taking, your body is going to be very smart. It's going to be very efficient. And it's like, I know how to still keep myself alive while eating really low calories. And I'm just going to become efficient with using this amount of calories so that I can, carry out my normal bodily functions. So I'm sure you can see the problem here. It's that your body has now adapted to 1,100 calories when before you were having 2,300. So now that means if you were to go back and eat 2,300 calories again, then you're going to gain weight. The other part of this too is that if you're eating 1,100 calories and now you've reached a plateau, which inevitably happens, you won't continue losing weight on what you dieted on because, like I said before, your body will adapt to it. So then what happens? Well, now you're faced in a situation where you either have to increase your energy output or continue decreasing your calories. Now, I would never recommend even putting anybody on an 1,100 calorie daily intake because I think that that's really low. You have a certain amount of calories that you burn for your basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories that you need just to simply survive. Then you have your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which accounts for another percentage, about 10 to 15% of your daily calorie burn. And that is things like doing chores, walking, doing the dishes, stuff like that. So it's things that you don't necessarily think about. And then you have 5% of your calories, which are burned from activity. So exercise activity, doing things like going for a run, lifting weights, that type of stuff. When you cap yourself and you're eating 1,100 calories because it's not even enough to support your basal metabolic rate or really do anything so that your body can function optimally, this is where you start to see issues. Like I said, you're faced with those two choices. You keep decreasing your calories or you increase your energy output. And neither of those sound good in a situation like that because that's just going to result in even more metabolic damage. The second one is that macros do matter, and I'm going to tell you why. Depending on how much protein you have in your day, that can really determine if you are prepared to lose muscle mass, which you don't want to do because that just contributes to a slower metabolism. And there's also a really cool thing called the thermic effect of food. So by eating more protein, you're going to burn more calories just simply by eating protein than you would carbs or fats. So macros do matter, and specifically protein. And that's what I want to talk about. When I was trying to lose weight, I just thought that you had to eat, like I said, as little as possible, which obviously is not the case because it really stunts your progress. And it sucks when you're like ready to go and you're determined and you have your heart set on a goal. And the worst thing that can happen is that you're eating very little, but then you're also not eating the right things. So what I was doing when I was first trying to lose weight was I was just skipping meals and then I would go and devour like a bag of chips, and then that would be like the only thing I would eat in a day. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since then, since now becoming a nutritionist, but I'm not gonna lie, that was like how I thought, was that you just have to eat as little as possible, and that the food that you ate didn't matter. So there's tons of different ways of going into a calorie deficit. And if it fits your macros, or flexible dieting, or even meal plans are super helpful when you're trying to go down this journey, because then you're not left blind, which I feel like a lot of people who don't know how or like where to start, this is where things get a little bit messy, because you see so much stuff on the internet, like you have to have this greens drink and this will help you with your bloating and all of that stuff, and whatever else you see in like marketing. But the truth is that this is undeniable. Protein is like incredibly important. Protein is going to be your best friend. And the reason why is because 1, it helps you build more muscle. And 2, it helps preserve your muscle while you're going into a deficit. And 3, there's this thing called the thermic effect of food, where just simply by like your body eating protein, it helps you burn more calories. Now, on the topic of building more muscle and speeding up your metabolism, that actually brings me to my third point, which is lifting weights is not going to make you look bulky. In fact, I tried to get bulky on purpose because I was a bodybuilder. I did compete in bikini and figure, which is more like figure is just slightly more muscular than bikini. I'm gonna say, like, I got my ass handed to me because I'm natural. So like I'm a natural athlete. I don't take anything. I don't even take Advil if I don't have to. But all this to say that while you're eating your protein, if you want to speed up your metabolism and work smarter, not harder, so you're not having to do endless amounts of cardio to make up for the slow metabolism that you have, then my best suggestion is to lift weights, and don't be scared to do that. When I was growing up, I was a swimmer. And I would swim 6 days a week, and I would swim for 3 hours a day. I was like a little fish swimming, and all I did was just do cardio all the time. I remember we would do like dry land training, which was more like strength related stuff, and I absolutely hated it. And I was so scared, and I didn't want to lift any weights because I thought I was going to look big. But the reality is that just because you drive a car does not make you a NASCAR driver. And I understood that. And then I felt really dumb afterwards, because now I've been lifting weights for 15 years and I'm still not huge yet. The power of lifting weights is so impactful on your metabolism. Just by having a little bit more muscle, that means that while you're laying in bed at night doing absolutely nothing, you're burning more calories. Those are calories you don't have to burn by killing yourself doing cardio. And so the flip side of this is you also don't need to do buttloads of cardio and kill yourself doing all these fitness classes where your heart rate is skyrocketing and, you're sweating your butt off. You don't have to do that. That's like the work hard strategy and not the working smarter. And I'm all about being efficient. The fourth point that I want to talk about is having a periodized approach. Blah, blah, blah. That just sounds like mumbo jumbo, I'm sure. But a periodized approach is very important, because that means that you're not doing, like I said in the very first point, you're not doing everything all at once. You still have tools left in your toolbox. And so what this might look like is, in the beginning, when you're first starting out on your journey, you are increasing your protein and you're eating a certain amount of calories. So let's use the example of 2,300 calories again. And now we're going to say that they have a 500 calorie deficit. So now the person is eating 1,800 calories. They are still going to lose a significant amount of weight, but then once they hit their plateau, there's still room for them to keep going down. And so what you would do from there is drop it by another 200 to 300 calories. And then once you've hit the bottom of that, I would say it's time to stop. Within that, you're not just focusing on your calories. You're also going to be focusing on your macronutrients, the breakdown of that. So whether you are, increasing your protein slightly even more, and dropping some of your carbs and fats, we also want to make sure that your fiber is still around 25 to 50 grams, which would be ideal and amazing. Now, on top of that, I'm not even going to talk about cardio, but I will talk about taking steps. So walking. So you can achieve this by parking further away when you go to the grocery store, going to the mall and just going for a stroll, doing lots of window shopping, or simply just planning walks with your friends or your dog, or your loved ones. There's really like no limits or rules around this. I love going on podcast walks. So what I do is I throw my headphones on and I just walk around. I have a route in my neighborhood that I go on. And whenever I'm going into a deficit or a diet and I really want to ramp things up, I'll do like my route and a half of it. So you can achieve this by creating a route and you know roughly how many steps a day you're getting in that. And then maybe you're taking like a quick like walk to the mailbox or, just going a walk around the block throughout the day. So periodizing your steps is like, first, you start at 8,000 steps and you're doing that for 4 weeks. And then after that, you want to increase it. So now you're doing 10,000 steps a day for another 4 weeks. And then you finish that and now you're doing 12,000 steps for 4 weeks. So now that's 12 weeks of periodizing your approach, which means that your body's not going to adapt to any which one of those because you continuously make these changes in it and give it new stimulus that allows it to be more challenging for your body. And that's how we keep our bodies from being complacent, which means you are not going to be hitting a plateau in that time because you're making the necessary changes. So my last tip for you and mistake that I made was that you have to take breaks while you're going through a diet. You can't just stay on a diet forever. There are so many times that I've seen this and it drives me nuts when I see people trying this, like they were on Weight Watchers and then that stopped working. So now they're doing intermittent fasting and next thing you know, they're on the Bernstein diet and they're eating 600 calories a day and they're not losing weight. And they're like, oh, I wonder why. I'll tell you why. So the reason why you're not going to lose weight in that is because you're not setting your body up to be cooperative. You've already used all the tools in your arsenal. You have already stressed your body out enough, given it exactly what it doesn't want to do anymore. And now it's fighting back and it's like, nah, I'm not going to do that because look at what you're doing to me. So some things that you can do to avoid this is by planning an exit strategy, making sure that after you go through your diet, you start to build your calories back in the same way that you lost it. So like I mentioned before, if you went from eating 2,300 calories a day and then went down to 1,100, if you ate 2,300 all over again, you are going to gain weight because now you're in a significant surplus. But if you reverse diet out of it, so let's just use the other example that I had where you're using 2,300 calories to start, you drop down to 1,800 and then you go down to 1,600 or 1,500. From there, you can make small incremental changes to get you back up to 2,300 or slightly below it, and you will not be gaining back all of the weight that you lost. This sounds counterintuitive because it is, but by staying at the low calories that you are at when you finish your diet, that's the worst thing that you can do because your body is going to adapt to it. So you don't want that to happen. One of the strategies that I implement with my clients is we take diet breaks. These are strategies throughout the duration of your diet while you're eating that 1,600, 1,500 calories. We implement these breaks in there so that your body is not adapting to such low calories. And so you can go back to your maintenance fairly quickly without gaining any of the weight back. All right, so that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. That does a huge favor for me while I'm trying to grow my channel. And if you want more tips like this where you can lose weight and eat like a normal human being, then head over to the description below to get access to my Facebook group. I give so many secrets away in there that it's not really a secret at this point.